A major problem with using fall cover crops before planting corn is that it robs the soil of available nitrogen, at least for a couple of weeks after termination. Timing of cover crop termination is dependent upon the weather, and also if you use a custom farmer, it's when they can fit you in. So the lack of nitrogen, the failure to timely terminate the cover crop often retards your growth of corn, which is the primary crop. Here is the problem. The corn on the left was planted in rye stubble. The rye had been harvested for hay. The corn on the right was planted into killed alfalfa. No fertilizer added to the alfalfa, but fertilizer was added to the corn, just broadcast fertilizer. And you can see the differences 2, 3 inches, maybe 4 inches in height, and the size and thickness is incredibly different. That's the problem with the rye if you don't terminate really early. So the rye was cut for hay May 14th, corn planted May 29th, fertilizer added May 29th, and May 30th, the weeds were sprayed to kill, and the rye was terminated with spray. So, we killed it a day after, but you still had the nitrogen being tied up. As you can see from the pictures, the corn is much smaller on the rye ground. The field overall had yellow patches in it. The corn that was put onto alfalfa planted the same day was much darker green and clearly doing a lot better. It is really hard to justify a cover crop if you're only looking at nitrogen. The planting the rye was fairly inexpensive for me, is $14 an acre. The seed was $17.60 an acre. Now you have $31.60 per acre into the cover crop. If you're going to early terminate, I'm guessing about $20 an acre. Now you're at $51.60 per acre. You do have more biomass and you've retained your nitrogen. Well, I think you probably retained your nitrogen. But the fertilizer cost this year for urea on this land was only $36 an acre. Add in the phosphorus and potassium and micronutrients, and I was at about $90 an acre. And now if you have to add starter fertilizer to the cost of $51.60 an acre, I don't know what that's going to cost, but you're going to end up with an additional cost. It seems that if you add starter fertilizer to the $51.60 an acre, or the $31.60 an acre, depending on which direction you go for early termination or taking the crop, it increases your cost significantly to have a cover crop. The conclusion is obvious. These cover crops tie up your nitrogen for several weeks after termination. You need to terminate very early, which means you probably can't double crop, can't take a hay crop or anything else off, or you need to put out a lot of starter fertilizer. And I unfortunately relied on a custom farmer who did not put any starter fertilizer with this corn. I was going to tell him to do double, and then I didn't get around to it. So when you have weather getting in the way and you have miscommunications with a custom farmer, things go wrong. I'm just not sure that I can afford to plant a cover crop on any of my corn ground. It just doesn't seem cost effective when all you're looking at is nitrogen.